Well, this weekend was one for the books. Catalina was absolutely beautiful. It was everything I hoped it would be, and so much more. The Lagoon Escapade was a complete success. The NAOS Yachts guys really know how to have a good time. But just like that, it's over in a flash. And this morning, everyone is headed back to their home port. Marina del Rey, Long Beach, or San Diego. And I gotta tell you, it's just another one of those pinch yourself moments as I look around and see this fleet of lagoon catamarans on the high seas, just like the Greeks on their way to fight the Trojan War. I've been beaming with exuberance and excitement ever since that very moment that I spoke into existence the words
Lagoon Catamaran Ownership.
Just think of Ralphie wanting that Red Ryder BB gun when he was a kid.
No, I want an officer Red Ryder carbon knife to 200 rifle.
And then times that by 1,000. And just getting that confirmation that David and Philip and Charlie all mutually agree that a lagoon catamaran is the boat for me. Well, this is the best thing I've heard in a long time. The last time I felt this way was when I was just starting the Ride of My Life series, and everyone said I was nuts. And when someone tells me I'm nuts, or that I can't do something, I know I'm going the right direction. And as I sit here on the boat, enjoying these last few hours of sailing on this amazing Lagoon 40, I figured, what a perfect time to go over some basic sailing terms and really just look at the layout of the boat. One of the things I wanted to do with this little project is learn right along with you and sort of build a how-to on how to sail one of these beautiful catamarans. And you get to watch as I go along. Now, even though I've been sailing for a little while and I understand a little bit about the concepts, I've never done any of this big boat offshore stuff. So instead of throwing myself right into the fray with something like the America's Cup, I figured I'd just start with a little basics, with a little bit of Sailing 101. I can't explain it, but some people are just born for adventure. They hear the calling, and they're compelled to get off the couch and see what's around the corner or over that horizon. I'm going on this quest to prove that the heart of history's greatest explorers and adventurers is alive and well today. This is your invitation to
escape from reality.
I'm going to take a second and just kind of virtually walk you through this boat and throw down a couple of sailing terms, some nautical jargon, and some names of points of interest here on the catamaran, because maritime terms have to be named something different than what anyone else in the world calls something. Right now I'm on my favorite seat, which is right here on the starboard bow. We've got a port and starboard bow. Starboard is right, port is left, and I'm on the starboard bow. This whole area right up here, we call the foredeck. This is the area front of the main salon, or the interior. This main salon begins on the inside where these windows are, and everything from the windows up to the bow is the foredeck. Now, this little netting area that looks like two hammocks here, we affectionately refer to as the trampoline. But don't go jumping up and down on it if you're over the age of, say, 15 years old. But this is a really fun little area to lounge around on, like a hammock, spread out, get some sun, listen to the water, just kind of hypnotize as it goes below you. It's a great place to perch and watch dolphins surfing off of your bows. We've got the bowsprit here, which holds some of your rigging. It also holds our nice Delta anchor, which is sitting in its cradle right there. And this is electric windlass right here. So you can raise and lower your anchor from the comfort of your cockpit, so you don't have to mess with anything up here. Super nice. The back of the boat, or the stern of the boat, or the aft of the boat is the back. If you want to tell somebody to go to the front of the boat, you tell them to go forward. You don't say go to the front unless they've never been on a boat before. And if you tell them to go forward, they're going to think you mean forward towards them, whatever. It could get really confusing. When somebody tells you to go aft, that means go to the rear of the boat or the stern of the boat. No one ever tells you to go downstairs in a boat. They say go below. That's super annoying. especially if you're talking to somebody who's never been on a boat before, because they're always going to say downstairs. Go below. Also, the main living room in there, that's not a living room, it's a salon. No, not a place where you get your hair done. I've also heard it very frequently referred to as a saloon. That makes a little bit more sense because it is where you go to get a drink. The kitchen area, not a kitchen. We're going to go ahead and call that the galley. And that's where you're going to prepare your food and serve. Now, what's also really cool about catamarans is they have another outside living room or picnic area or table area or meeting space, which is a nice U-shaped wraparound couch. That is going to be called the cockpit or the aft cockpit or the aft lounge, I've even heard. You don't go to the bathroom on the boat, you go to the head. The head is your bathroom. If you don't have a bedroom, you've got a cabin. Or if you're the owner, your stateroom. Really, it's a function of size.
Your support is putting wind in our sails so that we can share these adventures with you.
These little areas on the side of the cockpit, we're going to call that the weather deck. The weather deck. That's the little area between the foredeck and the aft cockpit. Then there's the driver's seat, where the wheel is. We call that the helm. That's where the captain sits. That's where the skipper is. That's where the driver is. This big, huge stick right in the middle that's holding the mainsail up, that's not a lightning rod, unless you're from Key West. That's the mast. That L-shaped appendage that comes out of the bottom of the mast, that's the boom. They call it the boom because when that thing catches wind and it hits you in the head, it goes boom. You'll have that thing hit you once, one time. You don't have ropes on a boat. All of these different ropes, gotta call them different things because why wouldn't you? Those are called lines. Okay, you don't want to call them ropes or any old salt on the boat's gonna look at you and he's gonna call you names.
So this is what you guys do for fun? Humiliate an imbecile?
All of this spaghetti that's happening up front here, all of it collectively is referred to as rigging. Those are the stays. Those are the stanchions. Those are all the metal wound cables that are holding all of the pressure from the mast that is generated from the sails. All of that stuff gets cinched down because the mast by itself can't support all of the sails. The mast is there as the most rigid piece, like a tent pole. All of that other rigging is there as additional support. These little spools that all of the lines are connected to, those are winches. No, not winch, it's a winch.
To the winch, wench!
Now we're lucky enough on this boat that not only do we have the manual crank winch, but we've also got the electric winches. Because we're not barbarians here, sometimes we're gonna go ahead and use the motor as we bring these sails up and down and trim them effectively. These little windows that go down below like skylights, these are hatches. I'm sure you've all heard the phrase,
Batten down the hatches.
these little tiny threads that are keeping us on the boat, these are lifelines. Lifelines. You do not want to put your life in trusting these things because they're not really that strong. These are emergency lines that want to keep you on the deck should you bounce around on the boat. You don't want to use these to hold yourself up because they move around quite a bit. You want to use the rails, These are just here as a last-ditch effort to keep you on the boat because you don't want to go overboard. Overboard, well, what the heck is that? Well, that's when you fall off the boat and you're in the water.
De mooiste opvulling.
Not a good time. Man overboard means somebody fell in. The mainsail is the big sail that's on the mast. Now that little cradle or hammock that's underneath the mainsail, that holds the mainsail and lets it fold or flake. You don't say fold on a boat, you flake those sails and they go back and forth like potato chips. And they sit nicely in that little cradle, and those little guides that keep it coming down into that sail bag, those are called lazy jacks. Apparently, back in the day when mariners were traveling the world, there was a guy named Jack, and he didn't like to do a whole lot of work. So they named him after him. Now, we've got this awesome sail right here in the front. We call that the head sail. It's the sail in the front, and it's the first one that cuts the wind as we sail to windward. Sailing to windward, that is sailing in the direction that the wind is coming from. Leeward side or leeward side, that's sailing opposite of the direction of the wind, or the area of the boat that the wind is going to pass last. Now, what's really cool about this boat is you don't have to roll this manually. You've got a roller furling on a cam system with ball bearings, and all you got to do is pull that line right there, and it's going to wind like a top, and it's going to start spinning. This whole area right here is going to start rotating, and it's going to roll the sail up like a newspaper, so you don't have to do it. Sometimes packing sails up is like trying to fold a fitted sheet. It just doesn't happen. Or like taking a AAA map and trying to fold it back the way it was supposed to when you bought it. They never go back the same way twice.
Okay, a couple more folds. Nope, okay, wrong end.
That is a really nice feature that this boat has, so that you can run the boat from way back there. And you don't have to come up here to the foredeck when the weather starts getting crazy, or it gets chilly, or you don't want to get wet. You can do everything from the cockpit and be nice and protected. The rudder, the two planks that are in the water, kind of like flaps on the wing of a plane. The rudder is in the water and it's steering the boat. All these crazy nautical terms for things in common life that you call something completely different for your entire life. We're gonna just call them something differently when you're on a boat.
Mend the bowsprit, stow the mizzen mast, jibe the jib boom, hoist the mainsail and lower the tattersail. Look sharp, man. Pipe the starboard hatch to leeward, thwart and trim the scuppers of the port boot deck.
So with Catalina behind us, we come back into the harbor in Marina del Rey. My mind is just lit up with thoughts of sailing. But then, of course, reality strikes. There's a couple significant facts to deal with. First of all, I've been bitten by the sailing bug. The second fact is I don't have a boat, so that deficit is not really sitting too well with me. But as fate would have it, as we get back into cell range, I get a phone call that may very well change the course of my life.
Ahoy, hoy!
Well, remember when I said I was in love with this boat called Aria back in Key West? It was the right boat, the right price, in the right location. The challenge was, the current owner didn't really seem all that motivated to sell her. Well, the guy was just off the grid with his family on vacation for a little while. And it turns out he very much does want to sell her because his life has taken another direction, and Aria sitting in Key West has become a little bit more of a distraction. But there's a catch. There's always a catch. So not only does he want to sell me the boat itself, but it seems that in order to do this transaction, he has to sell me the business. Business? Well, it seems that this boat is attached to a charter business in Key West called Restless Native. Now, I have no clue how to manage a charter business, much less a charter company in one of the biggest tourist locations on the East Coast. Now, this is not at all what I was expecting, but this might be just what I need to do in order to learn how to sail one of these things in a bunch of different conditions. Sailing in San Diego is like sailing in a laboratory. It's always the same control group every single time. I tell everybody that San Diego has two seasons, day and night.
You stay classy, San Diego.
In Key West, well, let's just say there's some significant weather situations that occur. There's coral reefs around here. The ocean floor likes to move around. Plus, this whole area was kind of founded by pirates, so there might be a little bit of history, folklore, and some other interesting personalities that might teach me a thing or two, or as they say, show me the ropes. All right, Key West, let's dance. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens next.
Escape from reality.